C1. You described the construction of the Blackwall Tunnel ventilation shaft, BTVS skirt. How during the inspection you observed cracking and rust staining on the sprayed concrete, loose pre-stressing wires due to water ingress from the drainage channel around the skirt. Stop. From drawings you had managed to locate, you analysed the skirt using a finite element analysis in its original quote as built unquote condition and in its condition as quote as found unquote, and determined that there was a possibility of failure that would have risked damage to the electrical control room under the skirt and the operatives tending the equipment. Stop. Accordingly, you had a crash deck constructed that you designed, pending execution of repair and strengthening works that you designed, in order that the tunnel's operation would not be adversely affected. Stop. The Princess Frederica School retaining wall separated a road, pavement and buried services from the school playground at a level about 2 metres below that of the pavement. Stop. The wall showed signs of movement and there were loose bricks in the parapet wall that were a risk to the school children. Stop. After erection of a suitable barrier around the wall, you cored the retaining wall to determine its geometry and analysed it for sliding, overturning and ground bearing pressure. Stop. After some prompting, you acknowledged that the design pressure in front and behind the wall, for it not to move at the serviceability limit state, would be the earth pressure, quotes, at rest, unquote. Stop. On the Camel Viaduct, you explained the construction of the pre-stressed concrete box girder superstructure and how it was pre-stressed using post-tension tendons that were accessible for the majority of their length within the cells of the box. Stop. You described the benefits of leaving the tails of the pre-stressed cable strands uncut after stressing, so that if they needed replacing, jacks could be reattached and the extension released to de-stress the tendons gradually. Stop. Open brackets. This was not the case with the BTVS skirt, where the wires had been clipped after stressing, making subsequent removal more difficult. Close brackets. Stop. Your reviewers were satisfied that you met the requirements of the knowledge and understanding of engineering attribute. Stop. C2. C3. Management and leadership. You explained that your line manager responsibility was for 2 or 3 graduates for whom you provided support and guidance for their day-to-day work and periodic catch-up meetings. You gave an example of where one of your graduates had not been working satisfactorily, and despite inquiries and counselling by you, did not show any signs of improvement. In the presence of your manager and an HR representative, you had to tell him that after several warnings that his employment would cease, would be terminated. Stop. In your inspection and assessment work, you managed up to 8 professionals and operatives in the inspection team, brief them on the technical requirements of the task in hand, and ensured that the appropriate safety measures were included in method statements, risk assessments, and that they were followed. Stop. C4, independent judgment and responsibility. You explained how in the course of your work generally, it was a requirement of your role in your inspection and assessment work to be prepared for most eventualities, including withdrawing operatives from unsafe areas, insisting that appropriate safety measures were installed before re-entry was allowed. Stop. You described how on one of the projects that you worked on, which was the foundations of a footbridge, you noticed that the bearings of the bridge deck were elastomeric, but were subject to appreciable lateral movement. You persuaded the bridge engineer that the simple elastomeric bearing should be replaced either with a pot bearing, or that holding down bolts should be provided to work in conjunction with the elastomeric bearing. And that after some persuasion, the bridge engineers agreed to the latter solution. Stop. Your reviewers were satisfied that you met the requirements of the independent judgment and responsibility attribute.